Welcome to Strain on the Game, the podcast that reveals what it really takes to keep elite footballers performing at the highest level. I'm Stephen Warnock, former Premier League player, joined by physical performance expert Adrian Lamb. From training ground truths to the financial impact of fitness, we discuss the often overlooked challenges behind the beautiful game. Welcome to another episode of Strain on the Game. This week, we're going to do something a little bit different. We've had some brilliant guests on over the past few weeks, but today we're going to answer a few questions that people have sent in and questions that we've been asked on social media that Kelly, our producer, has been looking at. So this could be a little bit different, Lammy.
Yeah, crash helmets on, scrapping.
Are you prepared for this?
Anything could happen. Well, it's just off the cuff. We'll see how we get on.
We'll see how we get on. How have you been anyway? Because I haven't spoken to you for a while.
Yeah, good. All well. Yourself?
Yeah, very good. Very, very good. Sorry, I'm just adjusting my screen to make your head look bigger in it. So, yeah.
There's no need for that.
Right. Let's get into it.
Let's fire away.
So first question we've got in is from Jason, which is, what is the downside or hardest part about being a player or a coach working in football? Do you want to go with that one?
Right, yeah, I'll kick off with that one. I think they're two different answers, aren't they, really? I think from a staff point of view, the first one probably is fear of the sack. I think that's a hard part, because there is... You're never more than 5 games away from the sack. If you're associated with a manager, the good chance is and we've seen how many managerial sackings there are in football. If you're associated with that manager, he loses his job. The chances are when a new manager comes in, he's going to bring his staff in with you. So how is that a hard part? When you talk about life stuff and big decisions, buying houses and sort of laying down roots, you don't really feel as though you have that, and you accept that because that's part and parcel of the game. Yeah. And I remember when my first job at Newcastle United, we had a coach called Tommy Craig, who was the reserve team coach. Brilliant guy. Thick Glaswegian accent that I'm not going to try and recreate here, but he was like, "Is this your first job in football?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "You're going to get sacked one day." And he says, "Can you accept that? If you can accept that, then you're in the right job. If you can't accept that, find another job."
Wow.
And I was
like, advice that is early on.
I was like,
it's true. It's true though, isn't it?
But it was, and it was, and I said, "Do you know something I don't?" And he was like, "You'll be all right. You'll be okay." And then 10 years later, when I did lose my job for the first time, I was like, I need to find Tommy Craig's number and say, it's finally happened. Yeah. So that is a hard part. The second bit is time away from home when you're a coach. You do part of, there's very few clubs, coaching jobs in clubs. You do have to travel, and you do have extended periods of time away from home. You miss Christmas, you miss weddings and anniversaries and big family events. You do miss them. Yeah. You're not present. And it's no surprise. I was on a golfing trip this summer, and 3 of us were involved in football, and we all had our wedding anniversaries within 3 days of each other, which is, everybody has a wedding anniversary in June, don't they? So yeah, those.
What time did you tee off on that day?
Oh, I think that was a 36 holer. So I think it was
the day of your anniversary.
Yeah, none of us were with our other halves. So yeah, it was one of those ones. So we were all separate from our wives on that day. So it was, into Flora we're making a big delivery those 3 days. So yeah, those are the things. What about for you as a player? Because I should imagine those answers would be different.
Yeah, I find this quite interesting because I just don't think it's a coach or a player. I think it's everything, because even now when I'm in the media, it was actually something I was discussing with Kelly today about being in this side of the game now, is that you can still spend long periods of time away, and you can still go away for 4 or 5 days at a time, depending on where your job is and what you're doing. So I think it's just the industry on a whole, isn't it? If you're in the media, then you can still do that side of it. One of the things about probably being a manager or a coach, what you've just said then, the fear of the sack or the fear of moving around all the time, is probably one of the reasons I've never gone into it. Because I
Right.
always think there's probably not enough time to set, well, I think we see it week in, week out with managers, or over a period of time, that they don't get long enough to put the values into a club, or to put the groundwork in to allow people to go, yeah, I can see what he's doing, this is going to work. And there's certain managers who I look at now and think, like, how are they getting so long? But then on the flip side of it, I think I'm made up they're getting long, and they're getting time to be able to do that. So that's probably the reason I've never gone into coaching or management, is because I know where I am.
Mm.
I know where I go home to every week or every day, wherever it might be. When my job's finished, I go home to that same place. The only thing is, I'd say, is in my industry now, is I still fear the sack from saying the wrong thing or saying
Yeah.
something out of turn, which is can easily happen. So you're always aware of what you're saying and what you're doing.
Yeah.
But I think the side of football, what the hardest part is making mistakes and doing it in
Yeah.
front of TV audiences, larger audiences, a live crowd. Very difficult. I think sometimes as well, the things that are said at you can be very difficult as well. That you've got to be thick-skinned.
Yeah.
Um, I'll go back to that side of working with a psychologist. I think is a massive thing that you have to do. So yeah, there's loads of different things within that question.
I'd be interested actually in hearing about that transition that you made from being a player to then working in the media, where you were critiquing players' performances, and having had your performance as sort of critiqued in the media by former players, to then being that yourself. Did you find that difficult, or were you sort of mindful of what you were saying, in terms of you didn't want to go over the top on certain players, or how did you manage that transition?
To be honest, I never used to listen to the media as such, or if I did, I took it on board more because it's like-minded people within the industry who understand the game, who've been through what you've been through, retired people. I think the difference is that there's more media presence now, there's more pundits, there's more coverage, more social media. So all that side of it's grown since I stepped out the game. So it's a little bit different. Interestingly, I remember I was doing a Liverpool game and I went to see James Milner after the game. And one of his family members actually said, God, you were critical of James the other week. And he turned round and said, oh, hang about. What game was it? So they said the game, and I said, yeah, I think it was that game. And he was like, well, I didn't play well that game. And he
Right.
was like, it's up to him to say what he sees. He said, can't protect me just because we know each other. If it's an opinion and it's what he feels, then that's absolutely fine. No one can have a pop at you for that.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, well, he's right in what he says, but to actually hear it from someone, because that's the other thing as well, is I still know quite a few people in the game, who you've played with or sort of know from being in certain circles, and you've got to be
Yeah.
a little. uh, You're not protecting them, but you're not doing yourself justice if you don't say things that are right,
Yeah,
and
it's your job. You're a
that's what you've got to
professional.
do. Yeah,
You're a professional, aren't you? Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, good, good. Right. I think we're getting into the swing of this now, aren't we?
We certainly are.
Right.
This could be a new podcast.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. Question. This is from Tom. I love listening to the podcast, and I've learned a lot of things I didn't know about football. But have you guys learned anything from doing the podcast yourselves?
Can I answer this first?
Yeah, that's you. Yeah.
All right, okay. I've learned that you've got a great voice for podcasts. I never thought you would have. No, do you know what? I think this was something that we both wanted to do, and we both talked about. Actually getting round to do it was quite a long process,
Yeah.
and I don't know why it was so long, but I think we were both a little bit, you want everything to be perfect and you want
Yeah.
everything to go well, whereas actually just jumping into it and doing it and taking yourself out your comfort zone's been great. And I'm probably a little bit, this to me is more natural because I do media work and on the whole, so it's a little bit easier for me. But I've loved some of the guests that we've had on,
Yeah.
and interviewing people is a different skill because usually my job is essentially being interviewed whenever I'm on TV because I get asked questions about things. So you're almost in an interview process. But now it's me asking the questions and you asking the questions.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've really enjoyed that. It's been
Yeah.
different. What about you?
There's something that stuck in my mind when we spoke to Steve Baharrel,
Yeah.
who was, for those who haven't listened to that episode, and why haven't you listened to that episode? Go and listen to it immediately. The CEO of the Newcastle United Foundation, and we were speaking about aspects of mental health, and there was a part of the conversation where we were talking about the amount of work that players do in the community,
Yeah.
and involved in community schemes. And I cast my mind back to being a coach, and I was thinking a lot of those times players were missing from sessions, or they had to leave early because they had to go to a school or to whatever. And I would get frustrated because I was wanting the players to be in the gym and do the work. And then Steve said something to me which really resonated, which was that link between community work and performance. And I'd never really thought about it in that way.
Yeah.
And I think about some of the teams that we've worked together, at Blackburn and Villa, times when I was at Newcastle. You were up at the Sunderland game quite recently, weren't you, doing that? And
Yeah. Yeah.
how effective what getting the crowd behind the team is to performance.
Oh,
And I'd
it's
never
massive.
really thought, yeah, and I'd never really thought about it because I always thought that supporters just got behind the team when they were doing well and criticised the team when they were doing badly. But when they have that touchable heroes, and the heroes are actually going out into the community and building those bridges and making those links, and everybody's genuinely then part of the same thing.
Yeah.
I never really thought about it quite in that way before Steve mentioned it. And he said he's not managed to provide evidence behind it, but he just knows that that it's right, that getting the players more involved in community schemes gets the supporters more behind the players, and that then lifts everybody. And I think he's right. So that's something that, from doing the podcast, I've sort of sat back and sort of ruminated over and thought about a little bit more. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, that's. But I think I probably learned something from each podcast, and look at things that I've done for years and years in a slightly different way. So yeah, but that's the one thing that sticks in my mind.
Yeah. And what about your ability to turn on and off the laptop?
Yeah, no, that's not improved at all.
It's
It's
not, has it, mate?
yeah.
No.
I have a
Oh,
technical team behind me.
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
That's how you
Namely
turn
your
it on.
wife.
That's how you turn it off.
Yeah. Uh, right. This one is a very interesting question, and I think this is arguably one of my favorite questions. What future podcast are you most looking forward to, and why? So what?
Um,
So I looked at this question. I thought there's two ways of looking at this.
right,
So that question, but who's your ideal guest to get on? If you
right.
could pick
So
one guest to bring on the podcast, who would it be and why?
right. So I'll answer that future podcast question first. So that was, I'm interested in two. So one would be recruitment. So looking at, and we were sort of lining up a recruitment guy, aren't we, to come
Yeah.
on and come on. So I think there's a lot of myth being built around recruitment. Talk about AI and Moneyball style computer
Yeah.
algorithms, which in player identification, and I want to know how much of that is reality and how much of it is building a myth. I want to see how much of the old sort of fashioned identifying players through experienced scouts and scouting networks, and how
Yeah.
clubs build scouting networks, and how much, obviously, we do have these computer systems and algorithms that are involved in player assessment, but how much of the human part of it is still there. That's one. The second one would be player agents, because I think that player agents, there's a lot of um, myth built around what player agents do, and a lot of it is negative, isn't it? We talk about agents being parasites, and when a player wants a new contract, or the agent's been into him, and all of that sort of thing. Are they really money-grabbing vampires and the personification of evil, or do they do a lot of good? So those are the two
We'll soon
things.
find out, won't we? When we
Yeah,
get
so
one
those,
on.
and I know a little. I've been involved in certain aspects of recruitment in terms of the physical characteristics of players that we want to bring to the club based on what we have available, and you're always trying to move the club onwards and upwards, and fitness is part of that. So making sure that the guys in charge of recruitment were aware of the physical capabilities of the players that we had, and that the players that were coming in were going to improve on that, was always a big part of my job. But in terms of player agents, I had very, very little to do with agents. So that would be an interesting conversation. What about
One
yourself?
ideal guest, though.
Ideal guest. I've got two. I've got two answers sitting on the
Good
fence.
one, then.
James Milner is my
Okay.
ideal guest, because I
Right.
want to, we both know him well, and getting him behind what has driven him to the levels of success that he's achieved over the years, I think, is an important one. And we've both spoken a lot about Big Sam. So
Okay,
getting
yeah.
Sam Allardyce on. So talking about, we reference both of those people quite regularly, don't we? So
Yeah.
getting both of those on, and actually hearing the stories from the horse's mouth,
Yeah.
would those two. What about
Okay.
yourself?
One of the episodes I'd like to do is the importance of a kit man
Right.
and what he brings to a football club. Because so often, if you get a good kit man, they can be the heartbeat of the club.
Yeah.
And they've been there for years. And kit mans often are the ones who don't lose their jobs. So they've got so many tales to tell and understanding about the club, and that they're great for the new players when they walk through the door. So kit man, I think, could be a good one. So we're gonna have to try and find a kit man. I think I've got someone in mind, but we'll
Right.
keep it under wraps. And then ideal person on. Yeah, I'd love to get Millie on. I think that'd be amazing. The main one would be Ronaldo. When you think
Right.
about how he altered his career, or not altered it, but just became this absolute specimen of a person.
Yeah.
And listening to Doc McNally when he spoke about him and the change in him and his attitude, and how he wanted to get better and built a team around him to get better. I just think it'd be fascinating to hear
Yeah.
from him. So, hey, one day, who knows? He might come on and tell his tale.
Shooting for the stars, mate. I love it. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah,
Quality.
absolutely.
Okay. Next question. Hi, Stephen and Adrian. Very few people call me Adrian.
It is your name.
I know, yeah, but nobody calls me it. There was a player once. There was a package came for me at a training ground once, and it was to Adrian. And I'd worked with this player for like 3 or 4 years, and he was like, "Is that your name?" So, yeah, you don't look like an Adrian. That's
Oh,
why
that was
everyone
me.
calls me Lammy. Hi, Stephen and Adrian. I have a 12-year-old son who loves his football and wants to be a professional player one day. What advice would you give him to help him achieve his dream?
Let him enjoy himself. It's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
I just think my big thing is, when you're coming through as a kid, is that they don't think about money. They don't think about anything but just playing football.
Yeah.
And at a certain age, it alters a little bit when you start to get contracts and things. But I think at the moment, too many parents are involved in how much money they can get for the kids, how much where they can sort of what parents can make out of it. And I
Yeah,
think a lot of people are in it for the wrong reasons. So I think if you want the best for your kid and you genuinely want the best for your child, just support them and let them enjoy the football. Don't be critical. Let the coaches do that. That's their job. That's what they're good at. You're a parent, be the parent, but don't be critical about what the football is doing and what they're doing in that on that side of things. So, yeah, for me, just enjoy it, enjoy the journey. Um, don't take it too seriously to start with. I know it's very difficult because every kid wants to get to the top, but you can only get to the top at a certain point. You can't get there at the age of 12 because physically you're not ready to get there.
yeah,
Um, I'd just be asking as many questions as I could as well as a kid. How can I get better? What do I need to practice on? Left foot, right foot, get them as strong as you can. Don't just think your one foot's as good enough to get you as high as you want to go. I think you've got to be so good with both feet now. And play loads of positions as well and work out what's best suited for you.
absolutely. Well, on that, I mean, my one of the as a 12-year-old, I think you said 12-year-old, the there's a balance, isn't there, between early specialization and being involved in lots of different sports. And one of the things that I've seen um, over the years is that players have started just diving into a single sport and trying to specialize in it. And what that's resulted in is a very narrow, what I call a vocabulary of movement skills. So they've got a very, very narrow range. So one of the things that I speak to parents about is what else do they do at 10, 11, 12 years old? What other sports do they do? Oh no, they just play football. Um, and I think that previously in generations gone by, that was okay because we had a less sedentary society. We didn't have phones is a massive problem.
Yeah.
We used to talk about the PlayStation generation. Now it's the phone generation, and all the kids are on the phones, and they're all sort of slumped and hunched over the phones, and you can actually see that in posture and in
Yeah.
body shape. And when you're trying to teach players to get the head up and look around and have vision, there's a physical impingement on that because of the body shape. So we talk about developing these vocabulary of movement skills, and so I encourage them to go and do gymnastics or dance,
Yeah.
boxing, martial arts that expose them to lots of different movement skills, because when they come to developing the technical football skills, their ability to move is so much better and they pick those skills up much quicker. So that's one of the pieces of advice I give to parents who are asking how can they improve the the kids' ability to play football is don't do less football, but do other things as well and broaden their motor skills. So that's
It's
one of the things
interesting
I
that
would say.
because one of my good friends is he's now the academy director at Manchester United, Stephen Torpey. Now I played
Right,
with Torps at Liverpool from a young age, round of about 11 or 12 to up until 19 years of age. Torps went to Manchester City and then moved on to Brentford. He did a couple of years at Brentford, and one of the things he actually took into Brentford was doing other sports, was
right,
giving the kids a different range of sports, but also as well, not only to get the movements of things, but you might have a hidden skill that you don't know about, and you might excel in another sport. But also, what it does is not everyone's going to make it as a footballer,
yeah,
so it gives you a different mindset as well. It takes your attention away from football a little bit. But if you do fall away from football, you've got something else to then look forward
yeah,
to and do. And I think that was brilliant what he was trying to do and why he was trying to do it as well. And like you
yeah.
say, different movements are vital.
Well, we talk about football from a physical point of view. I kind of describe it as being a problem solving task. And the solution to the problem is always movement. So if the ball is coming to you from a certain direction, how can you orientate your body to receive that ball maybe on the chest or on the thigh or on the instep in such a way that you're going to deliver a pass to your teammate? That's a movement skill. And the
Yeah.
more movements you're capable of producing, and the more plastic your neuromuscular system is to be able to produce these movements efficiently in balance, because football's played in an unstable environment. There was a youth team coach I worked with at Newcastle United called Brian Eastick, and he used to talk all the time about recreating street football because street football had gone away. And you grew up playing street football, and it was all of that because the players were developing those movement skills, how to protect the ball and how to move and how to keep the ball, because street football was usually 50 against 50. And if you got rid of the ball, you didn't see it again for another 10 minutes.
Well,
So all of
they do
those things.
cage football, don't they? Cage football
Yeah.
in Holland.
Yeah. So it's kind of looking at, there's no point in saying, oh, they should be doing this and they shouldn't be doing that, because society has moved on. And kids now, I don't know what it's like to be a kid now, because it's so different. They've got the phones, they've got so many other distractions. School's different, society's different. So what are we missing because society's changed? How can we reintroduce that kind of artificially, I guess,
Yeah.
into the curriculum of developing a player? So yeah, lots of things there, really.
I know, yeah, quite a lot. Hopefully that helps. Right, this is from Joey. You've both played and coached so many players played with and coached so many players over the years. What do you think are the best and the worst attributes a player can have?
Oh, there's a few players' faces just popped into my head there. I think. I mean, I talk mainly about the physical aspects of the game, but I think the answer to this is mentality. I think it's mentality, and I think most people would say that. In terms of attributes, character. Do they apply themselves correctly? Are they professional? Are they on time?
Oh, don't get me started on that one.
Keeping, mate. For me, especially with young players, but even older players, do they ask the right questions? Are they asking the right questions? Like one of the best questions that I can get asked by a player as a coach is, "What can you do for me?" And that's that's music to my ears, because that's somebody who wants to improve. And I don't care what that player's motivation is. If it's an older player, well, what do you want? Do you just like playing football? Do you want to extend your career? Do you want to make more money? I don't mind, because whatever your motivation is none of my business, because the work that we're going to do together is exactly the same.
Yeah.
So yeah, it comes down to mentality, a team first mentality in some senses, but also a certain element of selfishness, because they want to improve themselves.
Yeah.
By improving themselves, they're naturally going to improve the team. Are they independent? Can they make independent decisions? Are they not reliant on others to tell them what to do? So those things. And I guess the worst attributes are the direct opposite of those positive attributes, aren't they? There's those players that we talk about who are not in love with the game, but they're in love with the image of the game.
That's very true.
Those are the ones that I think probably have the worst attributes. And those players, even if they're really, really talented, they tend to fall out of the game quite quickly at the highest level.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that. I think the biggest attribute you can have has to be mentality. And one of the biggest words that you'll always hear branded around football, how do you make it? How do you get to the top? How do you stay at the top? Is sacrifice. And it's
Yeah.
probably the one word that most footballers, coaches would agree with, because I think you spoke about it before. You've got to sacrifice so much to get there. I'd say that's one of the biggest things.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with that. I think sacrifice is a good word.
Yeah,
Good word.
very
Yeah.
good. Yeah. Right.
Right, next question. This was from Holly. You guys talk a lot about how much the game has changed. Do you think that these changes have made it better?
Oh, I do, yeah.
Big question, that, isn't it?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I think it's made the game on a whole better, or the industry better for players. So what I mean by that is personal chefs, nutrition, understanding it, um, more physios, more masseurs behind the scenes. Basically, the team behind the team is bigger now, which
Mhm.
allows the players more opportunity to be better come a match day.
Yeah.
If you've got the right team in place behind you and at the club. And I think that's like a huge thing because I think if you can find more information out about how to prepare better for a game, what to eat, how to drink, whatever it might be, strength conditioning, getting stronger, I think you'll be in a better position. I think there's no two ways about it. Do I think the game on a whole is a better product on the pitch? No, I don't.
Yeah.
I think players are almost overcoached at the moment, where I watch a lot of games and they're so similar. And at the
Yeah.
moment, we're not seeing not many anyway, not many mavericks as players. Everything's all stuck into a system. And I understand systems and I understand tactics and things like that. But you're telling me that there's better players than Thierry Henry,
Yeah.
than
Yeah.
Gaza,
Yeah.
than Eden Hazard, than, I mean, I mean, do you know what was very interesting? I saw an interview a couple of weeks ago with Rio Ferdinand and Steven Gerrard. And Steven Gerrard said Paul Scholes would be absolutely perfect for the Premier League now, but I don't know whether I'd fit into it.
Right.
And I'm thinking Steven Gerrard saying that, arguably
Wow.
one of the best players that England's ever seen, probably one of the best players Liverpool's ever produced, and he's in the top two players, him and Kenny Dalglish.
Yeah.
And
Did
he
he say
doesn't,
why?
just because of the way that the game is, and you can't tackle as much.
Yeah.
So with that competitive side of the game, the way that midfields are set up now with the way the structure is, he said he'd be able to adapt, but would it
Yeah.
get the best out of him the way he was as a player?
It's
Whereas Paul,
interesting, isn't it?
yeah, it
Yeah.
is. So, but personally, I don't think the product's better. I think it's great, but I still think it was, and
Yeah.
that's not me being bitter. I don't care. I just think, and I'm sure guys who played in like the 60s, 70s, and 80s probably said it was better than my era
Yeah.
their
Yeah.
time. So,
We we do have that. I mean, broadly, I'm in complete agreement with you. I think that it's subjective, isn't it? It's
of course it
subjective
is. Yeah,
into
yeah.
yeah. But I think that it's that the game is not as entertaining as it was 20 years ago. I think, those and exactly what you say, systems and tactics are very much to blame for that. I'd say one of the things that annoys me is when managers say talk about their philosophy. You know, oh, this is my way of playing. This is my playing philosophy. When did that become a thing? I tell you what, here's a philosophy: win. There's a philosophy. Try that. Try winning. Yeah. Oh, yeah. But the performance was good. You just got beat 4-2 or whatever. Yeah, the performance was good. And we're going to bring Sam Allardyce back into it. One of the reasons that Sam Allardyce was so good at what he did was he could walk into a club and on the first training session assess every player and pick a system and a way of playing that would win games.
Yeah.
And or
I
not
still
lose
think there
games.
is managers like that though. I
Yeah,
still
there
think
are.
there's
There
managers
are.
like that
Yeah, of
who are
course there
great
are.
at what they do. Like I've just been away in Albania with like watching the England team, working on that game. And I think Thomas Tuchel's done an incredible job of adapting very quickly into an environment and working out what's good for his team and what's
Yeah,
not, and
yeah,
making huge decisions. And I think that's brilliant management. And I think that's a little bit of old school with a little bit of new in it. And
um,
I think he's magnificent. I really do. I think he's the type of manager you'd love to play for. But I think
yeah.
you pretty much know where you stood with him as well, which is one of the most important things. But
He's not
listen,
frightened of a decision, is he?
oh, is he? He's not indeed, is he? Which is
But
good.
yeah. So yeah, I think to answer the question, I think it's probably better in some ways. It's less good in others. I think that the good players that you've spoken about there, they'd play in any era. But yeah, we don't really have the. those Liverpool versus Newcastle 4-3 games don't seem to happen quite as often, do they?
Well, there was a 3-2 at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, I know, but it was that.
It is different, though. I know what you
It's
mean.
different, yeah. It's different. It's
The
different.
thing is, you get a lot of great games. You'll get some brilliant games, but I think there's just very similar styles of play. And I think, to be honest with you, I've enjoyed this year so far because we're seeing a little bit of a throwback to the direct football and the long throws and things like that. And I've quite enjoyed it. I'm not going to lie. I've
Yeah, I was
been
going to
happy
say
with
that
that.
we've sort of seen that little bit of a reaction to the copy and paste style football that I think we've had in the last 2 years. I think coaches are looking at it a bit differently, and they're looking more of how can we actually win now, rather than how can we do the same thing as everybody else.
Yeah. Uh, right. Well, the next question, actually, interestingly, is a little bit of what we've just spoke about. What do you think makes a good manager, and what makes a bad manager? Oh,
um, I think what makes a good manager is consistency in the decisions, and we've seen it, haven't we, where we're going to have this day off, and then suddenly we've got a bad result, and suddenly that day off changes, isn't it? I mean consistency from that point of view,
yeah,
in
yeah,
terms of messaging to people, and the way that they behave around the training ground. They're consistent.
yeah. They're not
Um,
reactive, are they? Suddenly
yeah,
they'll go right. It's just shit training session, or we
yeah,
lost and we're changing everything.
yeah, yeah. I think that's, you've got to have emotion in the game, of course you have, but you also have to have that consistency. I think clarity. A clarity, certainly for me as a coach, having clarity of message. What do you want me to do? What do you want from me? I think you as a player appreciate clarity as well. Um,
Massively.
and I think bad managers, you don't get that level of clarity. Good managers, you do. I think the in the games, making decisions quickly, especially around substitutes. Not having a committee meeting when there's a player injured, being able to be decisive, and that comes back to that clarity. And then I think probably one of the most important ones is being emotionally intelligent, having good human qualities, I suppose. Understanding that players players are people, and that being in tune with that, and they're not just products, and they're not just robots. And I think the best managers that I've worked with have certainly had that level of emotional intelligence, and knowing how to speak to people to get the best out of them.
Yeah, I've just been to a Premier League coaching summit, and it was a coaching and performance summit. It was called, and it was very interesting. So we had Nico Kovac on, who is the Borussia Dortmund manager now. We had Adi Hutter, who was the Monaco manager up until a few weeks ago and was sacked,
Right.
and we had Fabian Hertzler on. The one thing they all said when asked the question of what do you want to be remembered by was being a good human. Don't care
Yeah.
about my resume in football. I just want people when at the end of my career or when I die say, lovely guy, treated
Yeah.
me with respect. Because I think if you do that as a person and a manager, you'll get so much more respect from your players as well. Like the best managers I've worked with have just been honest.
Yeah.
Sometimes the honesty hurts and it's not a nice thing. But the people who hide behind a door and don't want to give you an explanation for things are cowards. And
Yeah.
you don't respect them. And then suddenly you start, rightly or wrongly, you start talking about them and saying bad things about them because they're not fronting up to what you're wanting to know. But I think the managers who are blunt with you tell you, yeah, it hurts and you've got to take that on the chin. But yeah, that's the thing I'd say is
Honesty.
good human.
You remember when we had Steve McNally on, and he was talking about his interview with Sir Alex Ferguson, and
Yeah.
he said we didn't even talk about football or medical or anything. He just
Or
wanted
the
to
job.
or the
Yeah.
job. He just wanted to find out about me.
Yeah.
And that's something that resonated with me. That's something that you think, well, that's really insightful. That's probably the most successful manager of the modern era, if of any era. And that's the way he goes about his business. He wants to surround himself with good people. People first, your ability to do the job. Well, we know you've got the ability to do the job because you wouldn't be here sat in front of me being interviewed. But
Exactly.
what's more important is what kind of person are you?
Yeah.
And that speaks a lot.
It does. It's massive. Right. Do you want to do the next question? We might have to shift through a couple because we've only actually got about 5 minutes left.
Right. Okay. Then it's
So
yes,
you
no.
pick out, because we've got a few. You pick out which ones you think are the interesting ones.
In a second. So this is might be a sensitive one. This could be. How often do the chairman or the owners come to training, and how much do you think they really know about football? You can take that one.
I think it depends what club you're at. When we were at Blackburn, the chairman would come in every Friday.
Yeah.
Just to sit down with the manager, see how things are. I think he thought he was being supportive and showing a togetherness, which I sort of understood, but I don't know what the managers thought of it and
Well,
whether they liked it.
I can tell you what Sam thought of it.
Yeah, he wouldn't been happy with it.
No, he said, I'm going to ban him. I'm going
Yeah.
to ban him from coming because, at the time we were in a bit of a sticky situation, and he was coming in and he would say, you do realise to the players, you do realise how important winning tomorrow is, don't you? And, we're trying to take the pressure off and make everybody relax. No, yeah, good players, you'll win tomorrow. No problem. No, you do realise that if we lose tomorrow, it's a disaster. It's like of Titanic proportions. So, yeah, that was, but I think he was a good chairman, wasn't he, John?
I liked him. Yeah, I always got on with him. I think there was probably people who wanted to get out the football club who probably saw him in a different light because he wanted to keep as many good bodies around the club as possible and wanted numbers to make sure if we lost players, then, which is understandable, but
he's doing a job. His job is to do the best
protect
thing.
The football club.
Of course, absolutely.
Yeah.
He was good.
Yeah.
There are those moments when the owner turns up, somebody's getting sacked. He might as well. We've got John Williams who turns up every week, but then there's one that you never see, and then all of a sudden the helicopter lands, and then he might as well step off with his Grim Reaper suit on a big side. Somebody's getting the tin tack here. It's so that's always, and there's the ones where they get the players together and say, I believe in the manager. I'm behind him 100%.
Exactly.
Like, I would not want anybody else here. 1 week later, he's got his P45 coming through. So, yeah, there was...
Right, we'll shift on to this one dead quick, because I think this is an interesting one. This is a friend of both of ours, Dino, who's a golf pro. Could you easily transfer the periodization concepts alongside recovery and create a valuable program for an elite golfer? So not just football, but in golf as well.
Yeah, there you go. Yes. There's the answer. Next question.
Thanks for that insight, Lammy.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Dino will be made up with that. Dino, if you are listening, yes.
Yeah. I think, periodization applies. Different models of periodization apply to different sports. Your first thing you're looking at is what are the physical demands of the sport. And once you've established what those are, you can build structures in place and training plans in place which seek to develop those physical capabilities within the technical work that golfers undoubtedly have to do. So, we've seen how, I don't follow golf as closely as you do, but I've seen how golfers have changed their athletic ability over the last 20 years. I think Tiger Woods was probably in the vanguard of that. And everybody, he completely revolutionized golf. And we see, players like Bryson DeChambeau and others, all of them are in the gym doing their strength work. All of them are following very closely and
I look at Justin Rose and what he does after, I don't know if you've seen his RV. Have you seen his recovery?
Yeah, you told me about that, yeah.
Oh, brilliant. Absolutely love that. And that's why he's flying. the way he is at the moment.
Absolutely, yeah, and he's been doing it for years and years and years, hasn't he? And shows no sign of slowing down. But yeah, so in terms of the training, yeah, periodization plans in and around competitive seasons, in and around peaking at certain times. So there'll be, you know, elite golfers who are going to Q school in the next sort of 6 weeks who will want to peak for that. Then on the recovery side of things, you know, we had Dr. Robin Thorpe on the podcast very recently who spoke about the recovery and regeneration. The first thing is, do you actually need to recover? That was his question. Do you need to recover?
Yeah.
Part of that is, what are you recovering from? Looking at the volume and the intensity of golf now, I would say you need to recover.
Yeah.
What are you recovering for? There's a time scale element to that. So how quickly is the next competition? Well, we know at the elite level, the competition finishes on a Sunday and you jet off somewhere else. So there's another component to fatigue, travel fatigue and jet lag. And the next tournament, you've got 2 practice rounds, probably starts on the Tuesday, is it? And then Tuesday, Wednesday practice. And
It's
then,
when you arrive, yeah.
yeah, and then Thursday you're into it and all the time on the range. So yeah, Robin talked about the different components of fatigue, and fatigue is multifaceted. It can come from lots of different directions. So looking at neural fatigue, metabolic fatigue, structural fatigue, where the muscle fibers are actually breaking down. And the one that Robin spoke about that we don't probably do as well as we should do as well at is mental fatigue. And when you think about the demands of golf, the requirement to maintain high levels of concentration for prolonged periods of time. How long's a round of golf at the elite level? I know how long a round of golf is at my level because
Yeah.
I'm zigzagging all over the place.
I think it's about 5 hours, roughly 4.5 to
Right.
5 hours, or it can actually be anything up to 5.5 because they play so much slower because
Yeah.
there's so much on the line.
So maintaining that level of focus and concentration for that period of time, you've got environmental stresses because they always play in the heat, don't they? You know, there's,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, very rarely you see
Follow
them
the
play.
sun, don't they?
Yeah, exactly right. So once you've established the specific type of fatigue that's associated with the game, then I think we can look at ways of measuring it. And what was interesting, I don't know if you saw this because you were actually at the Ryder Cup, but I was watching it on the television, was they were all wearing Whoop, and there was some kind of collaboration with Whoop where we could see live the heart rate of the players as they were about to take the shots.
Yeah, they've started
And
using it. It's incredible.
so from a mental fatigue point of view, we talked a little bit, didn't we, with Robin about the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system. So in terms of recovery, I'd be looking at heart rate variability through the Whoop. And I think things that would work quite well would be structures in place around mental recovery. I think cryotherapy would work quite well because I remember you were saying about how that improved your sleep quality.
Massively, yeah.
And it takes you out of that sympathetic dominant state into a parasympathetic dominant state. And the evidence suggests that works quite well in that. So, yeah, absolutely. The short answer is yes. Periodization and recovery modalities work well, but it's identifying and individualizing the components of recovery towards the athlete that you're working with.
Do you want to ask the last question? Because I actually think this is quite a funny one. I don't know whether you've made this up yourself or whether Kelly's put it in or someone else.
Now you'll have to ask it, because I don't know which one you're going for. I've got about
There's
3.
the last question on the list, and it was, Stephen, are you back on the cherry cokes?
I haven't actually got that one on my list. Yeah, sorry, mate, I haven't got that one on my list. But right, so Stephen, are you back on the cherry cokes?
Yeah, hi, my name's Stephen, and I am a cherry coke addict, and I am back on them. Oh, honestly, do you know what? I was doing well, and I went to the Ryder Cup, and what's the stuff that they have over there? The cherry can. Well, you showed me it before. Is it poppy?
Poppy, yeah, poppy.
So they've got poppy, and then there's another one as well. So they had,
Pops is another one, yeah.
yeah, but I think it was the poppy one. They had that at the Ryder Cup, and I was having a little bit of that, and I thought, hey, it's okay. Then finished the Ryder Cup, and I stayed out in America, and I went to work at NBC for the weekend.
Right. Yeah.
And you're up at 4:30 in the morning. It's early starts, and then you've got the games throughout the day, and we're covering all the games throughout the weekend. And I just got to the point, and Cam, who looks after us, who's the floor manager, he just went, "Cherry Pepsi."
So he's
Yeah.
your dealer, basically.
Yeah, he is.
He's a
Yeah, he was.
pusher.
Yeah, but it was.
Right.
Do you know what the thing was? It was just the right time.
Yeah.
I wanted one then, and ever since that, the floodgates have opened, mate.
You reminded
not
me that.
good.
Do you remember that Peter Kay when he was doing the thing on Weight Watchers? He's like, one of his stand-up shows, like, I was doing really well, and then Cam got me. Nobody ever got mugged by a cherry Coke, mate. You made the decision. You made the decision.
It was my fault, but it was.
You can tell Cam. You can blame Cam all you want.
It was brilliant, and you know
Yeah.
what? I love the stuff. It's so good. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I've got the sweetest tooth ever, and yeah,
Right.
end of.
Well,
We'll leave it on that.
my one would be dairy milk, because you
Go on.
can't.
Oh, right, okay.
Well, you can't get it over here of quality. So when I go back, I'm terrified that customs at the United States Border Control are going to stop me because I've got $35,000 worth of dairy
Yeah.
milk to last me through the so that
Through
would
the
be my
week.
one. to last me till Thursday. So yeah, that would be my one. But yeah, so we've all got our little ones, haven't we? Dairy milk's
Yeah.
mine.
Yeah, but at least you can't get dairy milk. I can get cherry Pepsi in America, and I can get cherry Coke here. You can't get dairy milk in America. It's not the same.
What's the difference between cherry Pepsi and cherry Coke? Which, you know, if I put a
Cherry
gun to your head,
Pepsi is so much better.
cherry Pepsi is it?
Yeah, it's sweeter.
Is it? It's worse for you, therefore it's
Do
better.
you know what the interesting thing was? There's a shop at the end of my road where I live, and he had cherry Pepsi in once, and I was like, I ran back in the house to Kelly, and I was like, like I bought 2 cans of it. I thought, well, don't need to buy loads because they stock it. Bought 2 cans. He's never had it since, and I'm like, where did he get that from?
Well, Kelly's gone down and said you better hide all that.
Do not sell this anymore.
Yeah, there's what you don't know is there's a photograph of you behind the counter which says, "Do not serve this man cherry Pepsi under any circumstances."
There probably is.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Brilliant.
Right,
Enjoyed
we'll end
that.
it there. We'll
I
end
enjoyed
it.
that.
That was good. That was interesting. We'll do another one in the future as well. But yeah, this has been another episode of Strain on the Game. Thanks for listening. Follow us on social media and YouTube at Strain on the Game. Subscribe, like, and follow.